Live streaming is on.
Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the Beyond Bitcoin Show. Today is May the 9th, 2020. Strong hand, long-term thinking, unconfiscatable. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Do not accept a new normal. Fitting in is overrated. Personal responsibility is the new counterculture. Deferral of gratification. Conviction. Defiant, not compliant. Hello, my elite friends. How you doing today? You can type in some questions. It's the Beyond Bitcoin show, but we're going to start off talking a little bit about Bitcoin. First of all, check out This Week in Bitcoin. It's linked to below. Vlad, Brady, and Surfer Jim were on. Surfer Jim made his debut. It's linked to below. Best freaking guest in the space I bring you every freaking Friday. So I think on Wednesday or Thursday, I warned people that the unemployment report was not going to be very good. It was 14.7% unemployment. And by the way, the federal government employment did not drop at all in the United States. So imagine that. Anyway, so I said, have a strong hand, because I would not be shocked if the price of Bitcoin, it was 10,000 at the time for you fiat freaks, if the price went, I said to 8,800, I said something like 8,000s. Well, Friday, that didn't happen at all. Today it happened. Now, why did it happen? It did not happen because of the jobs report at all, but I did warn you. And I've said it many, many times that we'll have days that it goes up by 1,500, and we'll have an hour where it goes down by 1,500, which happened earlier today. Apparently, hey, long-term thinking, people, long-term thinking, having hype. This is Bitcoin. It's turbulent, okay? And no excuse for anyone if anyone's freaked out right now and you watch this channel, no excuse at all. I even said, get ready. Unemployment reports coming out, 8,800 something. It doesn't matter. It'll be 5-digit realm. We're already in the 5-digit realm, dudes. Your mind is already wrapped around that. Okay, so I just wanted to say that. I think the people watching this all have strong hands, though, and are very excited about the halving, and they're going to be partying on Lag BaOmer, which is Monday night. Hey, last thing, I'll talk about a Jewish subject at the very end of the show. I decided to bring something up from last week again. Okay, so I always say respect the money. Never. If you find a penny on the ground, I found a penny on the ground. You keep that. You respect the money. It all adds up over time. You can save money, etc. But also, it's more important, and people have forgotten this. People don't respect the money either. But respect your health. Respect your health. This is something that has been lost. If you're dead, you can't make money. First of all, if you're dead, you can't enjoy life. Okay. If you're unhealthy, you can't enjoy life. All right. So the following that I'm going to talk about, it prevents viruses and illnesses. It's a long-term type of plan. And people, this virus thing is on everybody's mind. And for most people of a reasonable age, if you maintain a healthy lifestyle beforehand, you really shouldn't be freaking out right now. And you respect your health constantly so you don't become paranoid, delusional, hypochondriac when the media starts to try to scare you, all right? So most people do not have a health system at all. They can lose weight. Some people can lose weight when they're like, I'm overweight, I'm going to lose weight. But that's not a system. They go on a little diet, but then it ends. They go back to their old lifestyle. So you've got to develop a system like I have around health. And it doesn't have to incorporate all the things that I incorporate, okay? But it's got to be a constant. It just can't be like, well, I just lost some weight, so now I'm going to drink for 5 months. I'm going to start doing drugs again. I'm going to start eating candy again. Now, that's not a system. Well, that's a system of failure. That's a system of you're not healthy. You don't respect the health. So there's no magic pill that keeps you healthy, all right? And there's no magic pill that's going to cure every disease out there, all right? A lot of people think that the issue that's going around now, there's going to be a magic pill one day and they're going to be able to don't hold your breath. it's a lot better to fix yourself, okay, than wait around for a magic pill or a magic injection that might have some side effects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, maintenance is key. Just always remember that. So you can lose weight, but keep the weight off. Fast, exercise, sleep well. Don't do drugs. Don't drink. Cook for yourself. All right? You avoid the poisonous restaurants, okay? They in restaurants are trying to save money and they're trying to mass produce. I see so many people during this situation where they're locked in their houses, which is not go outside, exercise, be in motion, read. Okay, that strengthens your brain. And if you don't read, then at least listen to podcasts or to YouTube videos. Don't just sit there and drool and like look at the pretty person. Listening comprehension. Listen, that helps you get healthy in the head. Okay, that's a first step. It's good to be healthy in the head also and physically, as we've discussed here. But what I see when I'm going outside every single day on the streets of Los Angeles, I see many people going to restaurants still, and it's I mean, I guess you maybe some people think, well, I'm supporting a restaurant. Okay, you financially you are, but dudes, if you are, and some of these people are already overweight. Okay, that's what I'm pointing out here. I see people who are not physically in good shape going to restaurants. Not a good idea. They're not trying to get you healthy. They are trying to make money, especially now. They're probably using worse oils, okay, to cook their food in. So that's just off the top of my head here. People do not respect health, do not respect their own health. And if we had more people, personal responsibility is a new counterculture, okay? It's if you're in bad physical shape, that was brought on you by you years and years and years. It takes to go from a child, a teenager who's in prime condition to what most people become. And that's through smoking and eating horrible things. And there really are no cheat days, people. If your system involves cheat days, then the cheat days then all of a sudden outnumber the regular days. So there it is, simple concept, respect the health. I mean, a lot of people made fun of me in the past. Oh, you fast, you only drink water. Oh, I'm laughing now, okay? Because I'm in prime shape. I've been in prime shape. This thing, I'm going to be on a plane in a few days. I don't want to wear a mask on a plane. Maybe they're going to make me. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't wear a mask anywhere. I don't need to, and I don't give a darn about it. to tell you the truth. I mean, if I was sick, I would wear a mask. Yeah, of course, if I was sick. But I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous, and and I can be on this calm level because I respect my health. I have constant, and it's not just something I started because there was a virus. You guys have been watching the show for a while. I've been respecting the health for years and years and years and years. So it's the tortoise wins the race, okay? It's long-term thinking. It's long-term thinking and planning it all out. People have asked me before, why do you fast? Why do you fast? And I say, well, I probably won't know until like I'm 85 if it's really extended my life or whatever it's done, whatever it's supposed to do. But that's long-term thinking, and there are benefits along the way. You never know when there probably will be, I plan to live a long time. We had the Spanish flu in 1919 or 18, and we had a bad flu in 1968. And pandemics are real things. So, the next, God willing, I live 100 more years. There'll probably be something much worse than this, actually. So it's good to respect the health. But even if we never have anything like this again, it's good to respect the health so you don't have diabetes. So you don't have these comorbidities that are bringing people down. All right, there's ways of avoiding comorbidities. All right, I talk a lot about that more than I plan to. So speaking of health, though, any governor who keeps liquor stores, so play this at 2x, people. You can fast forward through that if you don't want to hear that. Any governor who keeps liquor stores open and closes the state parks is lying when they claim to focus on the health of their citizens. I agree with that. How can you say I'm doing this for the good of the citizens, for the health of the citizens? You can go get pot still. You can go to the liquor store, but you can't go to the state park. It's control freaks. There's no sense. There's no logic behind half of these things, ideas that are out there, and that just shows you a really simple one. Another thing, people say to me, you shouldn't go outside. If you go outside, you should wear a mask. You should be a prisoner in your own home. Why? Because I'm a hypothetical threat. Hypothetically, I could have a cold, okay? And I could spread it to people if I go outside. So indeed, and maybe some old person's walking outside and they catch my cold and they die. So hypothetically, I'm a threat, aren't I? So do we live in a world where we imprison everyone who's a hypothetical threat? Because if you're a man, you're a hypothetical threat to commit violence. Men are likely to, some commit violence. There's a certain percentage that commit brutal violence. So if we just locked up all men, we would save lives. We would get rid of those hypothetical threats. But that's the thing. We don't live in a world, in a country at least, in the United States of America. It's not supposed to be a country where people come up with hypothetical reasons to imprison you. All right? That's not freedom. That's not freedom. So there's a lot of ways you could be considered a hypothetical threat. And if you were locked down, lives would be saved. If everyone wasn't allowed to drive a car anymore, but lives would be saved. You're not allowed to get in your car. That's the new law. You can't get in your car because we want to prevent deaths. Yes, it would prevent deaths. But where's the freedom? Where's the freedom anymore? Where some big brother is deciding who's a threat, who isn't a threat, what's important on the list of hypothetical threats and what isn't. So we're living in a world right now where people are valuing hypothetical threats over freedom, and it's not. And let me tell you, it's not that big of a threat. I mean, personal responsibility. If you're that scared, if you're scared of a hypothetical threat, then stay home. You don't imprison someone else because of a hypothetical threat. All right, so Alex Epstein, pound that like button. Alex Epstein was on the Yaron Brooks show, and he was talking about many different subjects. But at the very end, he brought up the virus, and he says, here's a guy on Twitter that I like to follow who's really good about the virus. And I think he's an objectivist too. That doesn't matter for what I'm saying. And his name is Daniil Gorbatenko. And of course, Yaron Brook had never heard of the guy before. I never heard of Daniil Gorbatenko either. You probably haven't either. He has 621 followers on Twitter. So why am I bringing him up right now? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is it's listening comprehension. Alex brought him up. Yaron did not link to him below the video. I was curious. I wasn't just following the YouTube algorithm and just going to the next video afterwards. I was actually trying to learn from what was being presented in the video. So Alex presented a new source of information. And so I looked up Daniil Gorbatenko. I found his Twitter feed. I found his Medium page. I linked to them below. I read his Twitter feed. I don't agree with him on everything, but he was great. He has some great takes on this virus. He's very logical, unemotional type of guy. I haven't had time to read his Medium post yet, but I linked to it below. I noticed he's also into cryptocurrency. That was not mentioned. And I see Giacomo Zucco follows him. That's the only person that I follow that follows Daniil Gorbatenko. But that's still pretty good because dude only has 621 followers. He's a smart guy. So this is how you learn. You just don't look at Yaron Brook and his nice white hair, okay? You listen to what his guests say, you absorb it, then you search them out. You don't go to the next video that's see what Susan Wojcicki says about what's cool to put on YouTube. No, you don't go to that. You don't go to the suggested video because trust me, you're not going to learn too much from most of the suggested videos, from the fancy sets or graphics. Or like for me, and maybe they'll say Bitcoin to 1 million or Bitcoin to 0. You don't go to those. You actually comprehend what you watched in the video, and then you go check out new people. And so that is what I've done, and I've linked to the guy. So maybe I've made it easier for you than Alex and Yaron did. I actually linked to the guy below, so you can see if you like his takes. It's always good to get more. And I didn't see. I saw that he was interested. It said blockchain or something like that. I didn't see any post about that, but I'll explore more. But he had some good takes on the virus, no doubt about it. He's not scared. All right. Now, I want to say more about Yaron Brook real quick. Let me just check if there are any questions over here because we're live. Hello, everyone. Oh, we got the Australians and the British. Everybody's up in the house today. UK Bitcoin Master. So you Kiwi Bloke, you said watch the documentary Plandemic. I watched, you're right. So YouTube is censoring it, the preview for it at least. So I did watch it already, the part that's out on BitChute, and I'm on BitChute also. It's linked below if you need to ever find me on BitChute. It's Bitcoin Meister on BitChute. So I believe I watched the same clip that you watched of the lady talking, and there's some interesting points in it. I don't know if the whole thing will be totally legitimate, but here's the point. YouTube constantly taking this down. It was not that outrageous of a clip, and it just makes people curious about it, okay? And it just gives it more interest, and people are going to find it. So if YouTube really thinks it's that bad, I mean, why? Just they've gotten it much more by constantly taking it down. More people have become interested in it. Okay, it was trending on Twitter because YouTube was taking it down. So that's the only reason I found out about it. If it stayed up on YouTube, I might have heard about it, but I probably would never have really looked at it. And it's not like really that earth-shattering either. But this is the way of the world today. You know. Anyway, but yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. It really wasn't. I think it gets into some mass conspiracy stuff. I really don't care about the falsy stuff. I could care less about that dude at all. Like, I don't believe he's involved in some mass conspiracy to sell viruses or to enrich his company. I don't think that matters at all. What matters is that this virus is not as serious as people are saying it is. That's all that really matters. And that hospitals and different entities are saying people died of it when they really didn't die of it. And the government has incentivized hospitals to lie because they pay them more. They pay them more if a person dies on a ventilator. And that is what we should be talking about, okay? The falsy stuff, I think, again, I'm not putting that dude on a pedestal. If he shouldn't be the one deciding if businesses are open or not, okay? So he's a non-factor. So I don't care about any of his personal life or whatever he's done before, if he's short or whatever he is. Or the other woman. I'm going to the base level here. And the base level of the people that I retweet and the people that I have shared is that there's no reason healthy people should not be working now. And if you're scared, stay home. That's what I care about. So and again, I only saw a clip from that video, but from what it was implying, it seemed like it was going to get into some conspiratorial, and I don't, and I do not believe this was been planned for years. No, I don't. I believe this happened. A new disease came about. That's life. It happens. It'll happen again. And the government's panicked. And then now there is no doubt about it that it is being politicized. There can be no doubt about it that it was being politicized. But to say, like, AOC has been planning it for so long, and this is how she was going to introduce her Green New Deal or whatever made-up conspiracy you want to make. No. Now she's taking advantage of it now, of course. What did Rob Emanuel say? You always never not take advantage of a bad situation. What did he say? It's late at night. It's 2 a.m. here in LA. Never let something slip through your finger. The point is yeah, they're taking advantage. Never let a crisis. Always take advantage of a crisis, or whatever he said. So yeah, they're taking advantage of a crisis, which is a sickening thing to do. Okay, it's a totally sickening thing to do. People are all sorts are grabbing power because of this crisis, and the media is milking it to make money off of the crisis. So you just have to take a step back and say it's not really a crisis. And if everyone, and this is what Yaron Brook, I'm going to get to what Yaron Brook said. He said he doesn't like the protests, that were like going on in the Capitol in Michigan. I like that. I like what they did in the capital of Michigan. Okay. I think the government should be scared of the people. Okay. What's wrong with that? They should fear the people. They shouldn't think they can all of a sudden become dictators and make up and go against the Constitution, et cetera, et cetera. It would be great if they feared the people. But Yaron Brooks suggested another way of protest, and I support this too. If all the businesses out there that are shut down, if they decide, I got to make money. So they write a letter to the government saying, hey, I'm defying your order here. It's totally unconstitutional. I'm going back to work. And if you shut me down, I am going to sue you, and I am willing to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Now imagine if a bunch of businesses all did that. A bunch of businesses all did that. They couldn't, first of all, they couldn't stop the businesses. But at the same time, they would have received all these letters of potential lawsuits, and that would also make it unlikely for them to take this. It would make them more likely to step back a little bit. Okay, so I like that form of protest. It could just be as simple as we're just all going back to work. But to have that backup, like to have that proof, like I warned the government and I said I was going to sue them, and I am going to sue them, and that they will sue them. I think that's good. I'm not a big fan of lawsuits, obviously, but threatening. I mean, what are the options when the government has when there's overreach and you're a prisoner in your own home? What are really the options then? There's one that involves violence, okay, and then there's peaceful means also, okay. So there's a peaceful way of doing it, just going back to work and saying I'm going to sue you if you don't let me work. And then there's what the dudes in Michigan did. So, pick it, pound that like button. Moving on with this, you're on Brooke there. So you keep on protesting anyway, and simple things just by going outside. That's great too, without the mask, et cetera, et cetera. Just there's so many people when I'm outside that are just wearing the mask and are walking around like zombies. Enjoy yourself, run, do what you did beforehand. That's all, because there is no new normal. Continue with your old normal. And all right, and no to indifference. How about that? There's a lot of people that are indifferent. Don't be indifferent about that. But being indifferent is accepting the situation, okay? They're saying, I don't want to, I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm not happy about it, but I'm just going to go with the flow. Don't be indifferent. This is not a time to be indifferent. Everyone can do a little bit of protest, a little bit of defiance. Now, because indifference is in the middle of compliance and defiance, but it really is leaning toward the compliance side. So I'm pretty tired of the landlord scapegoating that's going out there. I think a lot of, they are small businessmen. They're not criminals, okay? A lot of these protesters and liberals, or not liberals, socialists, are using this to scapegoat, to gain popularity. They have to blame someone, so blame the landlord. Say, hey, the economy is in shambles, so don't pay your landlord, or go on strike forever against your landlords. So here's a Fox article: landlords fight cancel the rent movement. And so I agree with that. And they say some are taking advantage of the crisis. Yeah, some people can still pay their rent, but they've heard all these, there's this new trend, blame the landlords for everything. So I can afford to pay the rent, but I just won't pay the rent. That's a new thing. And it's accepted now. I mean, law and order are being thrown in the trash can, basically. So if the socialists and the communists get their ways, and rent and mortgages go offline totally, I mean, who is going to want to be involved in real estate? I mean, already with the threats that are going on out there, with the rent strikes, potential rent strikes, I don't know who in their right mind would want to be in real estate right now. So we could have huge drops in the price of real estate. And I mean, could we have mass nationalization of real estate? I hope not. Could we have, a lot of these prices, if small time landlords are like, that's it, I'm throwing in a towel, I'm selling to anyone, there could be big conglomerates that just buy up a bunch of small time landlords, and they make out well, because in the long run, the people will have to pay rent eventually, or someone will have to pay rent eventually. But I will tell you this, with the people that are protesting this, if they end up, this could lead some of them to government housing, okay? They might think they're being smart right now, like, oh, I'm ripping off the landlord. I'm ripping off. And then maybe it becomes a HUD house somehow. HUD takes it over. You do not want to live in public housing, okay, dudes? Have you seen public housing before? I've seen I have been in the Housing Authority of Baltimore City buildings, numerous Housing Authority of Baltimore City buildings. All right, it's not good. It's some scary. It can be really scary, and you do not, when the government doesn't do a good job with most anything. All right, leave it. And with housing, you can see it right now. If you're one of those people who believe, well, government could do just as good a job as the private sector, you compare your private landlord to Housing Authority of Baltimore City. Okay, just go ahead and do that. And most people wouldn't even, once they get to the front door of the place on frickin' Utah Place on Madison Avenue, whatever the Tulip, I forgot what the name of the darn place is. Even if you go to one of those places, you probably won't even walk in the door at that point. It's that scary on the outside. What the heck is this? All right, so no, these people, there are consequences. If all of a sudden all the small time landlords get kicked out, all right. State of South Dakota, you guys are gonna like this one. When I start talking about the governor of South Dakota, I had not seen a video of her because I don't watch TV, obviously. But when you read a Fox News article, sometimes they play it, well, all the time. They try to play a video and you have to stop it. It's so freaking annoying. That one advertisement they keep playing. Oh, anyway, so let me read this to you. Because this is the state of South Dakota objects to tribal checkpoints on U.S. and state highways. That's very important, that part of it. Regardless of whether those checkpoints take into consideration the safety measures recommended by the state of South Dakota Department of Transportation. Kristi Noem wrote in letters, she's the governor, to the leaders of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe and the Oglala Sioux tribe. So here's the deal. Those tribes, through their land, there's state highways and there's federal highways that go through their land. And I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but they're setting up a checkpoint on the road. So, and you have to fill out something, and so to prove you're not sick, to prove you don't have the virus or something like that. Now, I think they control their land. I have no problem with them preventing anyone from coming to their reservation. Okay, I have no problem at all. But if they're just stopping people on the highway, that's ludicrous. Figure out another way. All right, dudes. It's not your highway. It's not your road. The United States built those roads. All right, those are federal and state roads. So figure it out another way. So I think she's absolutely right. If this is impeding traffic, this is ludicrous. If I'm on a highway, I don't expect to get pulled over for some checkpoint. Now, of course, that has happened to me in the state of Texas, and this is just as wrong. The federal government can say you're at the border when you're 99 miles from the border still, and do a drug check on your car. That happened to me in Texas. That happened in 2015. The video has now been taken down by YouTube because my original channel has been taken down. Maybe I can find that video somewhere when I get back to Baltimore. I don't know, but I did document it when it happened back in 2015. And so I don't believe in any sort of checkpoints by any entity on the highway. Now, again, if the reservation wants to prevent what they think are diseased people from entering their reservation, great, they can do that. It's their own little country in the United States. I think it's, what happened to them was pretty bad. But here's the deal. Their reservations are the poorest part of all of America, okay? Worse than the areas I was just telling you about in Baltimore, all right? So if these people think they're smart by preventing outsiders from coming to their reservation now, if they think that's a good idea, they're in for a rude freaking awakening, okay? Now, and most of them are already completely dependent on the federal government. And it's a shame that 90% of the people are alcoholics there. It's really some scary stuff. I think it's 90%, isn't it? I hope that's it's unbelievable what it is. Or maybe 90% of men are alcoholics on the reservation. I do not know the exact, So it's their right. It's their right to keep anyone off their reservation. I totally agree with that. And their roads, okay? But don't do it on the highway. Don't do it on the U.S. road. Figure out some other way. But dudes, during these times of economic hardship, you need all the visitors you can freaking get. So I don't know what you're all of a sudden concerned about viruses and death and dying, and 90% are alcoholics. It doesn't make sense. So and I have said many times, I respect the natives. I think that again, what happened is a shame over time. All right, it's a darn shame what has happened. But this is not helping their situation at all. Now, so Kristi Noem is the governor, and a lot of people ripped on her because they never had a stay-at-home order in South Dakota, which is awesome that they never had that. So I looked her up before. I saw her. I linked to her Wikipedia page, and I gotta say the picture on her Wikipedia page does not do her justice. Yep, I saw the Fox video with her in it. For 48 years old, she looks pretty darn good. Got to say it. Got to admit it. Any man has to admit it. I don't see any Botox there, and I don't see any major facial work at all. I mean, there might be a little bit of I don't know. It's not like the governor of Michigan. Oh my God. I mean, she, for 48 years old, pound that like button. That's all I got to say for 48. Okay, so going back to Baltimore, Steve Hanke and I forgot what Mr. Waters' first name is. Chris Waters? I forgot what. They've got an article out there. And Hanke often, he writes on national issues. He's mentioned cryptocurrency before, et cetera, et cetera. But since Hanke is based at Johns Hopkins, these guys wrote an article about the Baltimore mayor's race, and they've had a plan for quite some time, these two dudes, to lower Baltimore's property taxes, because Baltimore City's property taxes are double those of the surrounding county and more than double of other counties in Maryland. It's absolutely ludicrous. So if they were to cut the property taxes, some businesses would come back. People would move back, all right? People without kids, most likely, but whatever the case may be. So I have always said for years and years, Baltimore cut the property taxes, but they can't. They won't. They refuse to. They want to waste their money. Well, finally, there is a guy, Thiru. His first name is Thiru, who's running for mayor. And this is his big thing, to cut the property taxes. And they wrote an article supporting him. So I got to say, I don't live in Baltimore City. I can't vote in Baltimore City. I hope this dude wins for the sake of Baltimore City. If he's honest and they really will cut property taxes, it will be good. I'm no fan of any sort of taxes. The issue now, of course, will be he can always come up with a situation, like if he gets elected and say, well, we can't do this now because we spent all our money on the virus and now we have to tax people even more or something. So who knows what could come. But it's an interesting article. I am always been a big proponent of Baltimore City bringing its property tax rate down to those of the surrounding counties, at least. And so for those of you who are not familiar with Baltimore City, I believe the property tax is 2.16%. It's over 2%. So after less than 50 years, you've already paid much less, 40 some years, you've paid Baltimore City what you paid for your house again. All right. You paid for your house double. If they in theory, you bought your house for $200,000 and they value it the state of Maryland values it at $200,000 and you get taxed over 2% a year. It's less than 50 years. And then that's not taking into account all the other ridiculous fees and the initial taxes you paid on the transaction. It's ridiculous. So yeah, going to 1% would make quite a difference. Yes, quite a difference. Now, Hanke, there shouldn't be any property tax. All right. Now, oh, by the way, I linked to an outside video of me on Twitter. It's a funny thing happens. A robot goes. I'll say what happens. I've described it a couple times now, but in the video linked below, you should retweet it. I'm out there on the streets of LA being defiant, and one of those delivery robots that I've described here on its own goes through the background, and you can see what I've been talking about. These delivery robots that are on the sidewalks of LA. Now, sometimes I've seen people behind them, and a few times I've seen no one. And this is one of the times there was no one guiding this thing around. It was just driving on it wasn't being watched by anyone. It's got a camera on it. So somewhere in some office, they were watching it. It's pretty cool. I mean, I was really excited when it happened. Let me see the chat real quick. Remember, you can play this at 2x, fast forward through the parts that you don't like, because I'm sure there's so many different topics here. All right, we're 36 minutes in. Is there still a chance that you'll get back your original channel like Tone Vase and BTC Benny did? I don't like to jinx anything. All right, you should read The Creature from Jekyll Island by Edward Griffin, a real eye-opener. Well, I know Bill Still has described it thoroughly to me. I'm going to talk about a book that I'm reading. I talked about it last week. I'll talk about it at the end of the show. Some of you guys are going to get a very interesting story at the end of the show. And that's Jekyll Island. It's about creating the Federal Reserve. For me, it's played out. The whole Federal Reserve, scapegoating the Federal Reserve. I'm way beyond that because I'm in Bitcoin. I mean, good. If the Federal Reserve is bad, you can end it. It can continue. It can do whatever it want to do. It can be private, semi-private, semi-public, whatever. I'm in Bitcoin. I'm loving it, baby. I'm loving it. I'm loving turbulence. So let's talk about turbulence. We're going to talk about Frontier Airlines in a second. All right. You should run for mayor, says, no, I shouldn't. Don Quixote da Flamingo says, I should run for mayor. I shouldn't. I really should. Because politics, it can be a big waste of time. And I shouldn't run for mayor. People like me who have conviction, who stand for things, it's a total waste. It's a learning experience when you're someone like me who runs for office. You learn, and you learn why you do never want to do it and don't want to be associated with these people at all. Really sincere people with conviction who stand for things, who aren't going to try to be crowd pleasers, they never win. They never win. To win political office, you really have to compromise some values, and you really have to be a phony on a certain level. You don't have the attitude of fitting in is overrated. You cannot have that attitude like I have. Fitting in is overrated to win political office. And I'm not giving that up. I'm not giving that up. All right. And the funny thing is, when we're talking about all this political office thing, it still boggles my mind how people do not Google my name. I'll just leave it at that. All right. So my friend who's watching this in Baltimore, he must have a big smile on his face too. I've been involved with, to put it mildly, I've been involved with politics in Baltimore before. It's kind of surprising. I guess I'm glad people aren't stalking me that much. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's move on from that. Frontier Airlines. Flights departing May 8th through August 31st will have 18 more room seats available for passengers to choose from. Frontier, more room seats. So basically, you're gonna have an empty middle seat next to you. You could pay more to have an empty middle seat next to you. It's a more room seat, so you won't get sick. So I gotta say, Frontier, it's very entrepreneurial of you to try to get the screaming Karen's money this way, okay? Because you know darn well, if you're in a plane, all right, if there's someone sitting next to you, if there's someone not sitting next to you, if there's someone sitting in a completely different, you're going to inhale all sorts of stuff. All sorts, even with the mask on. I mean, unless you've got a really, like a special doc. I don't even know what those masks are called. I know so little. I care so little about these masks that I know there's like the N95, and that one is really good. Okay, one is really good. But dudes, if you're just got a regular old mask on, or you got your shirt around your face or whatever, or you don't have a mask, it doesn't matter if someone's sitting next to you. Or it's the air is really getting circulated. Quite often, when people get off planes, they've caught something or another. I'm sure I've caught all sorts of things from being. I'm on lots and lots and lots of planes. So I mean, if you're scared about catching anything, don't go on a plane. I mean, that's just the way planes are. So it really doesn't make a difference if someone's sitting next to you or if they're not. And so the other thing to take into account right now, I think there's only like maybe less than 10% of the air traffic that there used to be at airports. So most likely you're going to have an empty seat next to you no matter what. You don't have to really, especially on Frontier Airlines, which is not a major, it's not the greatest airline in the United States. It's based in Denver, low cost. I'm sure they're not filled at all. And so that you might be paying for an empty seat. You might be a screaming Karen and make yourself feel. They're taking advantage of and good for them. Good for them. They're appealing to the hypochondriacs of the world that still have to travel. And so they're going to be, oh, I paid the extra money for this empty seat when I would have gotten the empty seat anyway, and it's not going to make one difference in my health. I want to say Los Angeles, without the clubs being open, without the movie studios being open, without all the creativity being open, it's not Los Angeles anymore. The virus, the people complying to the virus and following all the rules, it's just the vibe, the party vibe is gone. And it's, there's some quirky things left, but it's the vibe is just not there. I mean, you could be this at times, this could be any city in a good, I mean, it could be Phoenix or I don't want to see, as I've never really been in, I've been in the airport there, but okay. I mean, it could just be a big Tucson. I mean, that's not what LA is. It's pathetic how the creatives, the supposed rebels, have totally, I mean, they're all wearing masks. All the hipsters, they're not doing their hipster things. They're not rebelling by opening clubs and painting and this and that. And they're all staying home and being scared. And it's just not, I mean, you see the Hollywood sign, you see certain things, but it's just not there, man. The vibe isn't there. LA isn't LA now, man. I mean, and occasionally you'll catch something, but most of the time it's just a big Tucson at this point. So get back, LA. And what was the other thing I didn't have it written down. Something came in my head when I'm talking about LA. What did I just wanted to say? Oh yeah, it is a little weird. You guys might remember that things started shutting down or being forced to shut down right around St. Patrick's Day. So sometimes when I run, and you guys should do this where you are too, many of the places you run by have green in the windows or say St. Patrick's Day sale. It's like one of those end of the world movies. Will Smith is walking around and you see what everything was like on the day the world ended. Well, imagine the world ended on St. Patrick's Day. You would see all this green stuff in the windows. And that's what you're seeing in some of these windows. The people who take care of the buildings, they haven't even been back in their buildings yet, I guess. And there's St. Patrick's Day sale signs and charms in the windows. So people should walk around your town and see if you see something like that. It's a little weird. Doesn't freak me out because I know it's all man-made. These places didn't have to be shut down. We don't have to be green forever here. All right, I like this. What is this? It's an article that says, some of the supermarkets have limits on meat purchases. So people are discovering butchers and are heading straight to farms. So I want to say that's great that some regions or cities or states are allowing some farms to sell their meat directly to people. I love that. Get rid of regulation. If this man-made catastrophe brings about some regulation being erased in terms of you buying stuff from farmers, I think that's awesome. I also think it's hilarious that some people are just discovering butchers now. I mean, they're so stuck in their Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, ghetto algorithm, whatever you want to say it is, that they never knew, there were these small butchers that are sometimes cheaper and better quality cuts than your sacred Whole Foods. So that's funny. Eric Lombroso says, and this is funny because men are just not men anymore. He says, once upon a time, Men had to risk getting devoured by wild animals every time they went to get a meal. Only real men and their families got to eat. Today, men cower in fear of an invisible threat they don't even understand while waiting for food delivery. Humanity is doomed. Well, I don't think humanity is doomed. I do think it is amazing how fast the world has changed, how comfortable people are, and how easily scared men are now. That just a few hundred years ago, you had to go hunt your animals, and maybe the animal could kill you, and you might go without food for a little while. Now you can be scared of something that you can't see. And imagine this virus came about in 1832. Do you think they would have even noticed? Do you think people would even notice? Because there was worldwide, and it would have spread all over the whole globe, because there was worldwide travel then. All right, let's pick another year, 1899, during the Spanish-American War, because that definitely was a time of worldwide travel, okay? If this happened in 1899, do you think they even would have noticed? I mean, there might have been like, because people didn't even live as long then. There weren't as many fat people then. And so maybe there'd be, in the history books, it would be written, yeah, a few more people died that year. You got to understand. You got to put this in perspective. We live in a time of where we're so comfortable, where we can notice where we're so technologically advanced, we can notice every little disease out there. And I think it's good to be aware of what diseases are out there. I'm not saying that. I love that aspect of technology, but we live in this time now where you can just really lock yourself in your house, and if you've got enough money, you can never come out. You can get a delivery, what I just described, even a non-human to deliver food to your house now on the streets of LA. So yeah, I don't know. Courage is not a virtue anymore. We're going to get into that in a second. All right. So shout out to Elon Musk for calling. I linked to him on the Joe Rogan show. He did a great job on the Joe Rogan show. He said, I mean, he wants to move his business out of California now. He thinks it's ridiculous. He thinks this whole thing is ridiculous. He was not emotional. Obviously, he's not an emotional guy. He explained the statistics that the death rate for healthy people is much lower than they were first trying to scare people about. And by the way, I still see on Twitter ridiculous people saying that the death rate is 7%. It's so wrong, so wrong that people have no concept of numbers when they say something like that. All right, so Elon Musk, you're awesome. It was a good time on Joe Rogan. He talked about some of his brain implant ideas, his Teslas. It was a good Joe Rogan. I linked to it below. We had a flu in 1968. Apparently, they didn't shut down everything for that. People, I don't know the whole entire. There was nothing close to this, and that was a pandemic. It spread over the whole globe. Nothing like this. Nothing like this. All right, defiance versus compliance. PragerU. Okay, let's go to PragerU. Dennis Prager. He talks about how some people out there say, well, we can't go back to work until it's safe. Do you know what until it's safe means? It means never. That means never, because life is never fully safe. He talks about his friends who would always say, I want to go to Israel. I want to go to Israel. And he says, well, go to Israel now. I've been to Israel like 18 times. And they're like, I won't go until it's safe. And that's never. It's never. Israel, for most people, they always find an excuse not to go. The Arabs could do this. Oh, the Iran could do this. There could be this and that. And it's ridiculous. No. Until it's safe, there's no such thing. Until it's safe means never. So when you hear all these people saying, well, you can't go back to work until it's safe, that means never. That means never. So he also says, when did being afraid become a virtue? When did being afraid become a virtue? Well, victim glorification, dude. I was talking about victim glorification before this whole virus thing started, but you phrase it in a better way. When did being afraid become a virtue? It's a virtue for some now to be afraid. Courage is a virtue, not fear, people. Pound that like button. And it seems like most people have forgotten courage is a virtue. Go out there, live your lives. And something that I disagree with him on, he's an older man. He's been married for many, many years. And he says that he's so glad that during his quarantine, he's not alone. He's with his wife. And he says that it would be bad to be stuck alone, without your wife, to be alone all day during this time. And I got to disagree with that one, dude. I got to disagree with that. I don't know. I don't know if I could survive if I had a wife right now. All right. I would survive, but I'd be going crazy because a wife would not let me go out and do everything that I was doing. I would indeed be truly quarantined. Most wives, no, don't go out there, or go out there, wear the mask, get me the food, bring it back in, and then you're stuck. And then when you're spending more and more time, I mean, I would find ways out. I would be like, I gotta run, honey, all right? But still, I would end up stuck with the woman, all right, in the house, and be constantly with one person. And we wouldn't be at work. I'd be trying to do my videos, but who knows what would be. No, I love the freedom of being alone. I think there's a lot of dudes right now that are wishing they were alone, that they didn't have this partner, that this is like deteriorating their relationships. So I got to disagree. As I'm a dude who cherishes quiet time. There are a lot of people out there, and that's the reason they get married in the first place. They're so afraid of being alone that they pick someone who's wrong for them, and then they end up losing all their money, or worse, or losing their children, or losing their, who knows? Now, again, I know people, it is possible that Adam, you could find the perfect match out there and you would be having a blast, being stuck with a person. In theory, that's true. I remember during a big snowstorm in Baltimore, I was stuck with my girlfriend for a couple days, and it was freaking awesome. But it was just a couple days, okay? And we were younger and naive, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a snowstorm. It wasn't scary. She wasn't scared at all. I mean, there were a lot of factors that were not involved that would be involved, that would be there now. There wasn't, the constant media saturation that can warp people's minds. And she, thinking of this person, her mind could have been warped. Yeah, her mind definitely could have been warped if it was some disaster. So, I wouldn't want to be stuck with her, and for various reasons now. But anyway, I think, fitting in is overrated. Again, dudes, if you're one of those dudes that fears being alone and fears being an outsider because you don't have a woman or you don't have a husband or whatever, it's overrated. If you're doing something out of fear, it's not going to end very well. And that's the funny thing. Most people are doing everything they're doing involved with the virus out of fear. So think of that. All right, it's not going to end very well for you. You've shut down your business because of fear. You're going to end up in the poorhouse, dude. And I want to say that I say the phrase golden age, and dudes, the 2020s will still be the golden age. 20%ers, remember the term 20%er. 20%ers produce 80% of everything out there, okay? Maybe more. So there are some 20%ers that are definitely shut down right now, but 20%ers won't be shut down forever. And once all the 20%ers get back to work, there, you got 80% productivity at the very least. And so I think there'll be a certain point where most of the 20%ers are back to work. 80%ers, they can live off of welfare if they want. They can do whatever they want. It won't make that big of a difference. There still might be masses, like a large chunk of the population might still be hiding and being paranoid. But if the bulk of the 20%ers are back, I think we're going forward, because they're cutting edge type of people, okay? Cutting edge type of stuff that are going to make this golden age, the 2020 is such a golden age. All right, be a unique beast, as I say. Be a unique beast. Let me see where we are in the show. It's running long. And we got more questions. Oh my God, 55 minutes in. Oh my God. Don't worry. We're going to get this done in 10 minutes. Oh yes. A UK Bitcoin Master says he would cherish every day spent with his lady. So there's an exception to the rule. Yeah, I as I said, there are, and Dennis Prager enjoys it too. He enjoys it definitely. You can. There are going to be times when it's really fun to be stuck with someone. I mean, when you've been with someone for so many years and you're truly in love, and you whatever, 30, 40, 20, 10 years with me, but you can envision a lot of ways being stuck with someone where it's not too fun at all. But no, there definitely are. As I said, someone's going to say, Adam, you just haven't found the right lady. And maybe there would be the right lady to be stuck with during a pandemic. I don't know, but I'm definitely enjoying, when I think about the alternative scenarios, I'm definitely enjoying this scenario, because for me, I'm just living my life as I would be before. And I think with a female, I would not be able to continue with my past life at this point, that there would be pressure to be freaked out. Because I see these dudes with their women and they're freaked out on the streets, man. Big dudes wearing the mask, getting out of the way when I run by. Looking at their woman to make sure they get approval. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. Everybody wants to talk about their ladies. All right. Now, where? Come on. Maybe I'll skip this. Yeah, I'll skip this for now. We'll just leave that for next time. Snitches get exposed, though. I got to talk about this. In St. Louis, where I went to college, someone used a sunshine law request to expose 900 St. Louis tipsters on social media, okay? People were supposed to submit tips on non-compliant businesses to the county of St. Louis, and because they had created an online form to where you could tell on people, okay? And so it did say in the small print that this could become public information. And so 900, they received 900 tips, 900 snitches, okay? And this guy says, here you go, the gallery of snitches, busybodies, and employees who rat out their neighbors and employers over the panic-demic. So he did something that was totally illegal. All these people told on others, and he used this sunshine law to get all their names and all the information that they sent, and he published it. So good for him. So people should learn. If you're a snitch, there's a price. There's a price to pay. Don't think you could just tell on someone and get away with it. All right, and try to ruin someone's business and get away with it. So props to that dude who did that. That's linked to below. All right, I'll skip that. It feels like let me go over the title. What was the title today? We talked about snitches exposed. We talked about Elon Musk. We talked about health. All right, now we're reaching the end of the show. Very good. And I'm going to tell you about the book and about what happened after I read the book in a second. I want to clarify some things from last week. I talked about the weed and these people stuck in their houses buying weed. And I brought up the price because some of these people are supposed to be unemployed. Okay, they should be saving money, and they're buying like $100 exotic weed, and it's just short-term thinking. I mean, dudes, if you've lost your job and you save some money here, okay? You're having it delivered to your house. You can't even leave your house to save some money to pick it up. You're just becoming more and more of a plant, and that's not very healthy. You got to be in motion. You got to be standing, not just again standing. Standing's another thing. These people are sitting at their house waiting for the pot to be delivered, paying all sorts of high prices for their pot, and just sitting there. That isn't solving the problem, and that is making your long-term problem worse. So I find it ridiculous that in this time where people should be saving, should be careful that they're buying luxuries, $100 luxury weed, and the girl, they're essential businesses. They're open. All right. Also, de Blasio. I wanted to bring up de Blasio again last week. Something I didn't get real specific. If Jamaicans were having a party in Brooklyn, okay, and I hope Jamaicans are having a party in Brooklyn. I think anyone should have a party in Brooklyn. But if Jamaicans were having a party in Brooklyn, and he came by to bust the Jamaicans' party, okay, and then he made an announcement that said, we're going to, I don't care if you're a black person or if you're any race, we're going to go send the police to break up your party. That would not be accepted. That there would be a huge. He would never say anything like that. So that's what he did last week when the Satmar, this Jewish sect, was having a funeral. He's mentioned Jewish. He said Jewish people will shut you down or whatever he said. When he could have said, the Satmar shouldn't be having a funeral. I mean, if he doesn't think the Jamaicans should be having a party, he says this Jamaican community should not be having a party. He wouldn't say all black people were going to send police, and that's what he did. And it's just silly. First of all, the main point is that I'm glad he did get into that situation where he is picking on minorities and saying stupid things, because people start to wake up and say, like, why are we even having this? Why can't someone have a funeral? Why can't someone have a party? Why can't people do what their traditions dictate? And all right, so we talk about that. And finally, the last thing. So if you want to hear about the Breslev book. So I said last week I was running in the alley. I met these Hasidic Jews of the Breslev sect, and they gave me this book, Tales of Ancient Times. And I think once this video is over, I'm going to link to a video channel of theirs. And so they were like, this will change your life. You can learn so much. They're hidden meanings, et cetera, et cetera. Just read the book. And so the book is, and all it is a bunch of stories. They're basically fairy tales. They're not supposed to be real stories at all. They're about a king and a queen. The Humble King, one's called The King and the Emperor, The Lost Princess. And some of them you can even read the kids. So, okay, I told them I was going to read the book. So I start reading the book. Whatever night it was, I started reading the book. And now I'm over halfway through the book. You'll see why I continued reading, I guess. Now, what you can say, a lot of you are going to say it's coincidence what happened. So I read the book, and I went to sleep, and I had a dream. And in the dream, I was with my father. Now, I've had dreams about my father since he died. And most of them, there was one that was interesting, but most of them are just, it's clear that, you have dreams. People appear in your dreams that have been in your life before. Sometimes I have dreams about my ex-girlfriends or people that I knew in high school. So you have people from your past come in your dreams all the time, okay? All the time. But in the dream, my father and I are standing by this beautiful lake. It's beautiful. And we had traveled there. It was north of Baltimore. I knew we drove on 83 to get there. But this lake doesn't really exist up there. It doesn't really exist. So in the middle of the dream, I'm with my father, and he's strong and young, just great shape. He's wearing a leather jacket. He looked great. And I'm standing there with him, and we're by the lake. And then all of a sudden, I realize it hits me like I'm aware. I'm aware in the dream. It's not like a normal dream anymore. I'm aware. And I'm like, Dad, you're here. You're here with me. You're really here. And like, we're so happy. He's so happy to see me. And I'm like, well, it's a dream. It's real. It's real. And once you realize it's a dream, it ends, And I was like, no, Dad, it didn't end. And that was it. And I was like, no, I'm awake. I'm like, oh, dude, it was so intense. It was like, it's difficult to explain. It wasn't the past. It definitely was not the past. I wasn't drudging up. I was aware in the dream. And we were communicating for a few seconds. We were communicating. It was a good feeling. It was, so I don't know the book, but and so then of course, I think it was 2 days later, I'm running through the alley again, and I see the guys again. I'm like, I had this dream. And they're like, they were saying, you see, I'll interpret your dream or whatever whatever it was. So that's my interesting story of the day. Maybe you should read the book too. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people are saying you can interpret it any way you want to. It was a good dream, and I gotta say, of all the dreams I've had with my father in it since he's passed away, it was out of this world. It was definitely different. It was definitely very vivid, and we were. It was a good feeling. He was all right. He was very. It was good to see him like that. It was very, very good to see him like that. So that's the end. It was a good dream. Enjoy your life. Have good dreams. Read the book. Pound that like button, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow, of course. Conviction. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Subscribe to the channel. And see you tomorrow, dudes. End this live stream. And yeah, don't get freaked out with the Bitcoin either, dudes. Stop.